Wow. Okay, I guess it's time. Is it Monday? Time for another Student of the Gun Radio? How do I sound over there? Do I sound all right?
There, yeah, Clark you sound all right. You need me to turn you up?
Yeah, give me just a little bit more volume. Yeah, we were listening to calls earlier. I sound like I got a lot of bass in my voice.
Yeah, my computer.
Do you get a lot of bass in my voice?
No.
No?
Must be you must have really good headphones.
I do have good headphones.
My computer over here, the volume was all the way up on 100. So every time I played a call, it was like 3 times as loud as everything else.
Yeah, it was breaking my ears, and that's not cool. That's not cool.
It's got to be those headphones, though, because it was the same loudness in my headphones.
Well, these are, I don't know, I can't take them off. Or I guess I can.
They're Sony. They're good.
They're Sony professional. They're Sony professional broadcaster type headphones.
Yeah, I've had these ones for a while. I need a new pair. I think I'm going to start a GoFundMe.
GoFundMe? You're an idiot. Jared needs a GoFundMe for headphones. Maybe you could ask Professor Dr. Dre to headphone you.
No. No thanks. I heard that those are good headphones, but I'm not falling into that trap.
Yeah, exactly. All right, welcome back to Student of the Gun Radio. I am your host, Professor Paul Markle, in case you did not know that, in case it's your first time. And if it's your first time, congratulations. Oh, aren't you cute listening to the show for the first time? Bless your widow heart. All right, you're going to need to do something for me, though. I need you to close your mouth, and I need you to open both of your ears, and I need you to make the pledge to listen louder. And I know if this is your first time with Student of the Gun Radio, you're probably thinking, well, you probably arrived with preconceived notions. You arrived thinking that you knew what Student of the Gun was all about because you read, or you just read the title. Let's face it, most new listeners, they read the title of either the show or the episode, and they're like, oh, I know what this is going to be all about, and I know what I'm expecting to hear. And then some people, not all, but there are some people that will listen, or they hear it, but they don't hear what they're expecting to hear. They hear something different, and they're put off by that. They're scared. It breaks their little chi. Their little chi gets all broken because they expected to hear one thing, and they don't hear that. And they're like, oh, but I thought the radio was supposed to tell me what I wanted to hear. And sadly, in the United States of America, year 2015, the consumer, the oxygen thieves of our nation, they've been conditioned to believe that their opinions on anything are the most valuable and important opinions in the world, and that because they hold an opinion, that carries weight. Didn't you just deal with that this last weekend, Jared?
I was just about to tell you that it was on Facebook, go figure, but somebody commented and said, we were having a debate back and forth and debating whether or not this one person should be on our radio show. And I said no, because they don't have they don't have the credentials to be on the radio show. And the other person said, anybody with strong opinions has credentials to be on the radio. And I said no, because opinions that are not based upon fact, that are not based upon experience, mean absolutely nothing. And that's true. If you have an opinion, I have plenty of opinions on freaking brain surgery or something like that.
I have opinions on NASCAR, so I think I'm going to go to North Carolina and tell them how they should drive, because I have a strong opinion, and they need to listen to me, right?
Yes.
I drive on the road every day. Certainly, I should go to the Planning Commission meeting for the Highway Department and tell them how they should build the highways.
Because you're an engineer, so yes.
I mean, I drive on the highway every day. I obviously know what a highway is. I drive on one. I've been driving on them for 30-plus years, so I'm obviously qualified to go to the Planning Commission meeting and tell them how to build the highways, right?
Of course.
Of course.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
And that's exact same mentality that gun people have. They're this, I own guns. I've owned a gun since I was 12 years old. I've owned a gun since I was 5 when my great grandpappy gave me one. And because I own a gun, I have strong opinions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you how you should carry a gun and how you should fight with a gun and how you should train people with guns because I own one.
I have strong opinions about gynecology. So I'm just saying.
Are you a vagina enthusiast?
Yeah, I am. As a matter of fact.
So you should be able to go to the local's women's clinic.
Exactly.
And say, get up in the stirrups, baby. Because I have strong opinions about vaginas. Yep. Woohoo! You know what you just did? All like those the
dudes that are going to be apologists.
No, yeah. Well, that I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. We every once in a while we have some metrosexuals that have to write us and tell us that we need to be more woman friendly.
Save your time because I don't care what you have to say.
Yeah, your opinion doesn't matter because you don't have a vagina. Now, if you do, if you happen to possess a vagina, and I don't mean you had one installed later on in life. You're not like a Caitlyn Jenner wannabe. You didn't, have your stuff chopped off and turned inside out. But if you were actually born with one and you want to write us and talk about women's issues, then cool. I will actually listen to a woman who wants to talk about women's issues. But when these metrosexual, like, apologist, weak freaking people write, as a man, I'm going to complain on behalf of all women of America. Well, actually, if you have testicles between your legs and you're writing me to complain on behalf of all women in America, you might want to go ahead and turn those things in because they're not really doing you any good. I'm just saying. So.
Yeah. I say Sally and Lauren will listen to you guys.
That's right.
So
and why are you just saying Sally and Lauren? There's more than that. Mary
and Shannon. Too.
And Shannon is Shannon
not
listening?
Shannon the sandwich maker. Not the sandwich maker. Well, I mean, I'm sure she does make sandwiches.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and does laundry. And, and does vinyls and stuff too.
Important stuff.
Yeah. So, but not the sandwich maker.
Vinyls.
Yeah, she does the twin unicorn design.
Oh, the unicorn chicks.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. They do some cool stuff. So we will listen to them.
There you go. All right. Moving on. I don't even know why we were talking about that. Oh, I know why we were talking about that because people assume that because they have an opinion, that the possession of an opinion makes it valid.
And you know what's funny?
That's insane.
You know what's funny is that this conversation that I was having was between me and another person, and it was about a third party. Well, this whole conversation that me and Party C were having about Party B was on Party B's. It was in comments on his post, and he never once chimed in.
Well, you can tell me off air, because we were so freaking busy this last week and weekend. You're like, when are you not ever busy, Paul? I don't know. Well, no. Friday we took a chill day. Friday,
yeah, kind of half.
Friday, we got up and we Jared and I went and had coffee and let Alex sleep in. And you're like, what? Yeah, just calm down. We went and had coffee. We greeted some new fans.
Yeah.
Handed out some cards.
Yeah.
Not going to say where we were because it's part of another story. But anyway, we went and we smuggled Cuban food into Mississippi from Louisiana, like a whole backseat full of Cuban food that wasn't for lunch, but we bought it at lunchtime. So we had to go somewhere else to eat.
Yeah, Cuban was for dinner.
Yeah, that's
and it was so good.
It was it?
My car still smells like Cuban food.
Which is probably an upgrade from your car smelling like at the aftermath. We said the Indian food's good, but you don't want to smell it afterwards.
No. Yeah, I don't leave Indian food in the car.
Don't leave $120 worth of Indian food in your car for a prolonged period of time.
I go to the Indian restaurant, I eat the food, and then I leave it there too. And then I leave, and it never goes to my car.
All right, kids. All right, all you cats and kittens out there in Student of the Gun audience, listening land. We are in the Glass Case of Emotion Studios, which is located at Student of the Gun University. I'm your host, Professor Paul Markle. The other voice is Jared, the studio engineer, the co-host, the producer, the digital mastermind. And what he's going to mastermind right now is he's going to mastermind us the SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week. And if you want to be the SWAT Fuel Warrior of the Week, it's super easy. You just download the mobile app on your phone, and then you tap the thing that says call us, and then the number's there. It says Warrior of the Week line, and you tap that. Then you speak into the phone using words. I know, it's crazy.
Rehearsed words.
Yeah, rehearsed words. And remember, a question is one sentence with a possible follow-up sentence. A question is not 2 paragraphs, just so you know. Say who you are and where you're from, and if you get chosen, thanks to our friends at SWAT Fuel, you will be the Warrior of the Week, and you'll get a free bottle of 9mm plus P so that you can be all you can be. All right, Jared.
9mm.
Yes, 9mm. All right, go ahead and play the theme song, and let me know who our Warrior of the Week is this week.
Hello, Paul. My name is Robert from Crab Orchard, Kentucky. I was wondering what your thoughts were on concealed carrying a gun with a light mounted to it. I already carry a quality flashlight with me, but is it prudent to carry a light bolted onto my gun? Thank you for what you guys do.
The answer is yes. But before I continue with the elaboration of that answer, Jared, tell him what he's got to do to get some SWAT fuel sent to Crabtree, Kentucky. Or Crabapple. Crabtree?
Crabapple? Crab Orchard.
Crab Orchard.
Let's try
okay.
Crab Orchard.
Whichever.
Robert from Crab Orchard, I need you to send Alex, that's ALEX, at Student of the Gun. Send her an email. Includes your name, your mailing address, your phone number, and your email typed in the body. Please, your email address, type that in the body of the email. That way we can just copy and paste and send it over to the SWAT Fuel people so they can get you your 9mm plus P.
Oh, and if you're not the Warrior of the Week, don't be sad. I know you're out there, you're sitting out there, you're like, I wasn't the Warrior of the Week. I'm sad now. It's okay. You can still take advantage of the special promo code SOTG2015 when you go to SWATfuelstore.com. Put that in there, and you're going to save 10% on your total order. All right, flashlights.
And real quick, before, if you guys left a message on the machine on the Warrior of the Week line by downloading the mobile app and clicking the Call Us tab, then I've got an inbox full of them right now that we're going to be going through. So if you didn't hear your name right now or up to this point, then you might in the future. So keep paying attention.
There you go. Don't just shut us off. Like, I didn't pick my questions, so I'm not going to listen to them anymore. It's not like that. No.
You can go cry and whine and throw a fit, and then when you get over it, come back and listen.
Come back. That's right. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to address lights. Human beings need light to see. Your vision is based upon the availability of light.
So when you were over in the desert, you use flashlights and stuff?
No, we actually had to adapt to the darkness.
So human eyes work without a flashlight.
They have to have some type of light.
So if the moon's out, that's enough light?
No, it's not enough light. Because you need to be able to identify everything that you shoot.
Okay.
You can't just shoot at sounds or shadows. Right? Because you can't say, oops, my bad, and call back the bullets. That's not how it works.
We had somebody, and I don't mean to interrupt the answering of the question.
Too late, you already did.
It kind of goes along with it. We had somebody that emailed and said, "Yeah, I don't need a flashlight. I could just the moonlight's good enough." And I said, "Yeah, if you're moving around, if you're moving from point A to point B, but if you actually have to shoot something, if you actually have to point a gun at something, you could probably want to be able to identify what that thing is."
I got a good one for you. When Jared was little and when our kids were little, we lived in town. We lived in a city, a small city, but we lived in town. And one of our neighbors was a mentally challenged gentleman. His name was John, and John was a gentle giant, but John was a giant. John was probably 6'1" or 2", probably pushing 300 pounds. He was a big guy, but he had the mental capacity of about a 7 or 8-year-old, I guess you could say. So he was an adult human. But he was mentally challenged. He wasn't retarded. He didn't have Downs or anything. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is, and John was very friendly and very inquisitive, but he was also a very large man. And you say, well, where I live, I don't have a mentally challenged neighbor. Jimmy the retarded boy doesn't live next door to me. All right, I got you. But let me put it to you this way. Do you need to look – do you shave every day? Or do you put makeup on? Like, well, yeah, I do. Or, well, how are you going to be able to look in the mirror knowing that you killed someone that shouldn't have been killed because you shot at a shadow or you shot in the direction of sound? You were scared and you shot at a large image that you thought in a panic state was a bad person, and it was Jimmy the retarded neighbor boy standing on your porch, coming into your house to tell you that your dog got loose. Or your spouse who didn't want to wake you but had to go to the store because they were sick or they needed something for the kids, and they're like, oh, I got to let him sleep. She's got to work tomorrow morning, and I don't want to wake him. So I'll just sneak out of the house. I'll go to the store, go to the 24-hour drugstore and get what I need to get and come back in the house without waking him up. You wake up in a panic because you hear noise. You grab your gun and you shoot at the shadow in the doorway. Bam. Now you have a dead spouse. Is that going to make you feel good? I don't need one of them fancy tactical flashlights. I knew what I'm doing. A good friend of mine almost killed his father-in-law because his wife had told him that his father-in-law was coming over the next day. But she told him late at night he was tired. He'd worked all day. He'd trained. Actually, he's a trainer. He had been on the range training all day. He came home. He was exhausted. He had his, the money that from the class that he needed to deposit the next day. He counted it out, set the checks and the money on the table. He's like, I'll get up in the morning and I'll deal with it. So he wakes up early in the morning and he hears somebody rumbling around. Somebody's on, and it's like, twilight in the morning. Somebody's on the back porch. And he's like, and he thinks to himself, I'm going to have to kill someone breaking into my house. So he goes and grabs a gun and goes to the back porch to confront the invader, hits him with the weapon-mounted light, and it's his father-in-law. Of course, fortunately for him, he said the father-in-law didn't realize that there was a gun attached to the flashlight. He just thought it was a flashlight. And so he put his eyes, he's like, hey, it's me. Didn't, Susie tell you I was coming over today? And he's like, oh, okay. Whew. He goes, I almost had a heart attack because I was 5 pounds trigger pressure away from shooting my father-in-law. And the only reason I didn't was because I lit him up with a bright white light and I had that instant recognition of, oh, that's not a bad person. I'm going to tell you this, though. If you have a light-mounted or a gun-mounted light is a good thing. However, asterisk, you need to have something else. It's not good enough just to have a gun with a light on it and a holster on your body, because there's a lot more things that you should be pointing lights at that you shouldn't be pointing guns at. Remember, you pull that thing out, you're muzzling everything you put the light on.
That's one thing that you said that really sticks in my mind is, remember, you've got a gun with a flashlight, not a flashlight with a gun attached to it. Exactly.
It is a gun first, and it also has a light on it. So if you're going to be doing utility chores, basic chores, or you're not even sure, let's say you're like, I don't know. You're like, well, why do you have the light then? Well, you have the light so you can keep both your hands on the gun when you're doing the shooting. All right. So, yes, it is a good thing. Now, is it more bulky? Is it more heavy? Is it a little bit more cumbersome? Yeah, it is. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Home defense rifles should all have lights mounted to them. And you know what, Jared? Make a note. We're going to do a special video about light-mounted guns, gun-mounted lights.
I thought we already had one of those.
I don't know if we
in
do.
the new season.
I don't know if it's new. At
the end.
Do we?
I think we have a weapon-mounted lights thing at the end.
Oh, okay. Well, good on us. All right.
What's crazy is that it's been so long since we filmed it. Now I just got to put them together.
Yeah, we did all the production. Now we're in post-production. All right. Thank you very much for your question from Kentucky. Thank you, Kentucky listeners, for calling in and listening. All right, Jared, do you want to give them a quick lowdown? Everybody, do you want to tell them about what you did Thursday night, or do you want to save it for another time?
Actually, I would like to save it for Wednesday.
Okay.
We could do a fitness talk. I'll just
Okay.
give you guys a quick overview, though. Thursday, I went to Gretna, Louisiana, and it was my first ever boxing match. So I've done MMA before, as you guys know, but I actually participated in my first ever professional boxing match. So,
There you go.
Actually, my first boxing match
Ever.
Period, ever. They just happened to pay me for it. So
There you go.
I'll talk about that on Wednesday.
All right, so remember, tune in Wednesday for the SWAT Fuel Fitness Talk.
Because we're already
Jared-
21 minutes in. So.
Jared will talk about that. All right, moving on, and we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. Man, it's Monday. I was preparing the show notes, and I realized we're loaded. We are loaded with stuff to talk about. Don't forget about our friends at Century Arms. They do sponsor the mobile app, and you can get that for free on your iPhone or your Android phone. The guy we met in Louisiana, he's like, "Oh, I don't have I can't listen to you." And I said, "What do you?" Because he said, "Well, where can I listen to your radio show?" I said, "You can listen on iTunes worldwide." And he said, "Oh, I don't have an iPhone." I said, "Do you have a phone that accesses the internet?" "Well, yeah, I have one of those." Bingo. Thank you, Century Arms, for doing that. Buy your AK now. Duracoat, because life is too short to have an ugly gun. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, life is way too short to have an ugly gun, and there's no excuse for it. So get yourself some Duracoat can technology.
Those are you that are in the grad program that are on the Facebook page. If you guys have any specific questions about the boxing match, let me know. I posted a post in there. Just go comment on it, and that way I can answer your questions on Wednesday.
Yeah, grad program people are a little bit more hip and they know what's going on. All right, Jared, let's go ahead and one of my all-time favorite songs from Madison Rising.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly straight.
Thank you, Madison Rising, for one of the best versions of the Star Spangled Banner that I have ever heard. If that doesn't bring a lump to your throat, a tear to your eye, pride to your body, either A, you're a communist,
I've got goosebumps.
or you have no soul. All right. Why did I
Any
play that?
gingers out there?
Yeah. Oh, bless your widow hearts. Who wrote, Jared, quick quiz, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner?
I'm going to go with Francis Scott Key.
Francis Scott Key for the win. That's right. I'll take Francis Scott Key for 500. That's right.
You know what? When you asked me that question, I was like, man, I'm second guessing myself. But
Oh, yeah. Now, the story that a lot of us have if you know about the Star Spangled Banner was not written during the Revolutionary War. A lot of people ignorantly believe that the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem, was written for or during the War of 1776, the American Revolution. It wasn't. It wasn't actually written until the War of 1812, which is the second time that we had to spank England. And sorry, England, but we had to do it. Anyway, so Francis Scott Key, now there's some very interesting information. There's actually a francisscottkey.org, and I'm going to go to the official website. It says where he was born and so forth and so on. But obviously the most important thing, the thing that he did, that his legacy, Francis Scott Key did a lot in his life, but the most important thing, at least to you and I, is the fact that he wrote a poem that he originally was going to call, I believe, the Battle for Fort McHenry. And I believe that was originally called the Battle of Fort McHenry, if I have my facts right here. It turned into the national anthem when they put it to music and people started singing it. But it was a question. Now, when the British invaded Washington, and this is from the official Francis Scott Key website. Let's go ahead and say he was born in 1780. He died in 1843. He was educated at St. John's College, studied law, and so on and so forth. But subsequently removed to Washington, city of Washington, where he was an attorney in the District of Columbia. When the British invaded Washington in 1814, Ross and Cockburn, and Ross was John Ross Key, was a son, and Cockburn was, does it say who Cockburn was? Let me see. Ross and Cockburn were the staff officers, headquarters, and upper blah, blah, blah. It says, at the residence of Dr. William Beans, who was seized as a prisoner of war by the British. Now, Key and a Mr. John Skinner went to secure the release of Dr. Beans from the British, and he was being held on a ship, on a prisoner ship in I think it was Chesapeake Bay. So they go out there. Francis Scott Key and Skinner went out to secure the release of Bean, who they said they would release, but they would not until they had completed the attack of Baltimore and Fort McHenry. So here we have Francis Scott Key, John Skinner, and Dr. William Beans, who are being held on a British warship. They were transferred to a frigate, the Surprise, it says, commanded by the Admiral's son, Sir Thomas Cockburn. This is all crazy. The way this is written, Jared. I really don't like the way this is written, because I've actually read it in several different sources, but I just thought francisscottkey.org would be the best source. Apparently, I was wrong.
The styling on the site sucks.
Yeah, the styling on this site really it kind of blows chunks, and I apologize to you, the listener of Student of the Gun Radio, that the styling of this sucks so badly.
The information is good, though.
The information's good, but the way that it's laid out is really crappy. So what I'm going to go is to biography.com and the biography of Francis Scott Key. And right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach down, I'm going to tap that button that makes the thing mute because I know that this auto plays. All right.
Can you stick that in the notes, too, because I want to give them the good one.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So how are you guys doing today on Monday? Are you doing all right?
They're all screaming that they're doing great.
We're doing great.
Monday's the best day of the week.
Well,
you know why?
Why? Because we've been gone?
Yeah, it's the first day they get to hear us in 2 days, or 3 if they're not part of the grad program.
That's right. Shame on you if you're not. It's okay.
But today has been a good day so far.
It's been a good day.
We had a little morning kickboxing class this morning. I got the chicks and the dudes going this morning.
That's
so
right.
There was
chicks and dudes.
Yep.
Chicks and dudes are kicking and sweating and all that stuff. All right, here you go. Here we go. It says, the War of 1812. By the early 1810s, the United States had entered into a conflict with Britain over the kidnapping of U.S. seamen and the disruption of trade with France. The ensuing hostilities would become known as the War of 1812. Though opposed to the war due to his religious beliefs and believing that the disagreement could be settled without conflict, Francis Scott Key, nonetheless served in the Georgetown Light Field Artillery. So he put his personal feelings aside because he knew that his country needed him. Strange. British forces captured Washington, D.C. in 1814. Taken prisoner was Dr. William Beans, who also happened to be a colleague of Key. Due to his work as an attorney, Key was asked to help in the negotiation of Beans' release, and in the process traveled to Baltimore, where British naval forces were located along the Chesapeake Bay. He, along with Colonel John Skinner, was able to secure the freedom of Beans, though they were not allowed to return to the land until the British had completed their bombardment of Fort McHenry. On September 13th, the three men at sea watched what would be a day-long assault. After continual bombing, to Key's surprise, the British were not able to destroy the fort, and Key noted upon the dawning of the next morning a large U.S. flag being flown. The British ceased their attack and left the area. Key immediately wrote down the words for a poem that he would continue to compose at an inn the next day. The work, which relied heavily on visualizations of what he had witnessed, came to be known as The Defense of Fort McHenry and was printed in handbills and newspapers, including the Baltimore Patriot. The poem was later set to the tune of a drinking song by John Stafford Smith to Anacreon in Heaven, okay, and came to be called the Star-Spangled Banner, okay. And when you listen to that, when you read it, I want you guys to read it. I want you to read the Star-Spangled Banner, and then I want you to listen to it. And remember that it's a question. It ends as a question. Oh, say, can you see? Does it still wave? I don't know. Does it? Does it still wave? Or the land of the free? And it's or. It's not over. I'm sorry. It's not for. I'm sorry. It is or. O''ER is short for over. But people always screw it up and they say for. Is it waving for the land of the free?
People say that?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Really?
Singers all the time. People who've never read the lyrics but have just heard them and have memorized them by listening, they think, and I think actually Dave Bray says for. I'm not sure. That would be the one chink in the armor, is I think he might say for. I'm not going to dig him on that, but because sometimes you can't tell whether someone's saying for. But a lot of times when people sing the national anthem a cappella, like at a baseball game, they'll say, for the land of the free. It's like, no, it's or, over the land of the free. Why is this important? Why is it important? Why is it important to you? Why is it important to me? Because it's part of our history. It's where we came from. This nation was not born out of peace and negotiation. This nation was not born out of compromise. This nation was not born because we sat down and we contained our enemies, or we were on the defense. You know there is no victory in defense. You understand that, right? I hope that you do. I hope you know the law. If you don't know the law, you need to learn it.
The lyrics say in text or.
Or
O apostrophe ER.
Or the land of the free. Yeah.
For the Madison Rising version. So I'm assuming.
Okay, so it says.
Yeah,
all right.
It says in text.
In text in the
It is
Madison
correct.
Rising version. Okay, rock on. Tremendous. That is fantastic. And wow, we're 33 minutes in already. I feel like I'm going to cut this one short, and it makes me sad.
You know what's kind of cool? When we were in Louisiana on Thursday, that was the first time I've ever heard a dude, other than Madison Rising, that was the first time I've ever heard a dude sing the national anthem at a sporting event.
Were you? Oh, they do it all the time. But were you outside? You were out of the fighters' locker room.
Yeah, I was out, and then they were dragging me back there as it was going, and I said, no, I need to stop.
Yeah, it just dumbfounds me the number of people that like fart around during the national anthem. You know, and I don't mean if it's like on the radio or on TV or something, but like when you're at a live event and someone is live singing the national anthem, stand still for 3 minutes, you undisciplined puke face.
Yeah.
What really pisses me off as a police officer and a Marine is when for instance, when we were at your first pro fight and they played the national anthem and I stopped and I stood basically at attention. And there were uniformed police officers behind the curtain, so people couldn't see them because there was a big stage. You remember how that was, Jared? And over in Alabama.
My very first one ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a big stage, and so you couldn't see the fighters that were backstage. And that police officers in uniform they continued to mill around. And I wanted to slap them. I'm not trying to cop bash, but if you're in a uniform, you should freaking know better. And if you are someone who wears a uniform and the national anthem starts and one of your fellows is farting around, shuffling around, you should be yanking a I was thinking how I couldn't say what I really wanted to say, to yank a knot in their fannies. Yeah, you need to yank a knot in their fannies. So, all right, the Declaration of Independence. You guys remember that whole crazy Declaration of Independence thing? I do. You can actually find it online. Now, you know what I'm going to do, though, Jared, before I start this? Because I'm looking at my show notes. And I'm thinking,
do it.
Once I get going, it's not going to stop.
Yeah, we've only got about 10 minutes.
All right, so thank you to Brownells at brownells.com. To Frog Lube, it just works. And if you haven't seen Frog Lube's newest press release, go to Ammo Land or Gun District or Shooting Wire, Outdoor Hub, whatever, and read it. Velocity Triggers.
Superior quality and value.
There you go, superior quality and value. And Crossbreed Holsters, because life's too short to... No, that's not it. That's the other one. Crossbreed Holsters, makers of the Bruce Jenner commemorative, or also known as the Super Tuck. So there you go. Check them out at crossbreedholsters.com. No, they actually make the Freedom Carry holster.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Not necessarily the Bruce Jenner commemorative.
Yeah, that's not the commemorative frame.
The Declaration of Independence. You remember it. I remember it. Some of us actually learned it in school. And if you have not read the Declaration of Independence lately, I strongly suggest that you do that, because the Declaration of Independence, as you read it, if you take out the words King and Great Britain and just substitute them for President and Government, or Congress and Government, or Senate and Government, you'd be like, wow, this could have been written yesterday for today. It's spooky. It's spooky how Jefferson and all the other founding fathers, they understood the nature of man.
You mean they knew what they were talking about?
Yeah, they understood history. They studied. They learned. They filled their heads full of knowledge. They read. They went to school.
Well, that was for back then. You
Oh
couldn't do
yeah,
that
back
now.
then they didn't have iPhones to distract them back then.
Yeah.
But I'm going to read you the last sentence. It says, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, capital P, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And then 56 signatures follow. Now, some people will say that John Hancock's signature was the biggest because he wanted George, and it's a cool story. He wanted the king to be able to read his signature without putting on his reading glasses, or he was kind of like doing the big F-U or whatever to the king. The fact of the matter is, Hancock signed it first and largest because he was the president of the Congress. He was the head dude. He was the head dude in the Continental Congress at the time. So it would make absolute sense for him to sign in the middle real big. Would it not? And you're like, oh, but I like that other story. Okay, cool. You like that other story. When they, and you know, as a proud American, as someone who knows about American history, about the history of the United States of America, who studied it, something that our generation and probably the previous generation has lost the realization of is the fact that by this Declaration of Independence, when they signed it and they put it on a ship and they sent it over to the king and Parliament, that wasn't okay, well, crap. Now that you wrote it down, I guess that we're just going to have to take all of our troops and go home, and you guys can be your own independent nation and no longer attached to the government or the United Kingdom. And it wasn't that at all. They were signing their own death warrants. Do you understand that? Do you have the ability to fathom the gravity of 56 men deliberately signing their own death warrants? You're like, oh, but they weren't all killed, Paul. A lot of them survived. Yeah, I understand that. I understand that a lot of them survived. But the fact of the matter was the Declaration of Independence was treason against the sitting government. The Continental Congress was not approved by the Parliament and the King. The Continental Congress, the Parliament's didn't say, oh, well, whatever the Continental Congress decides, then that's cool with us, and we'll go ahead and abide by that. No, not at all. They didn't grant the colonies and the people in the colonies the authority to rule themselves. Hey, Jared, what was going on in July 4th, 1776?
You mean a war?
Yeah, we were already at war. People think that the war, people who don't study thought that the war started then. No, it started on April 19th, 1775. We'd already been in an active shooting war with Great Britain when they put their names on this. They were not recognized by the ruling authority. Do you realize if we would have lost or capitulated, that all of these men, and they knew this when they put their names on it, that if the war for independence failed, every single one of them would be hunted down. And if captured, they would be tried for treason. They would either be hung or imprisoned, possibly for life. That their lands and their holdings, their retirement, because that's what your land was back then, was your retirement, your life savings, it would all be forfeit to the government of Great Britain. They knew that. When they put their names on the Declaration of Independence, they literally said, we are either going to do this, we're going to succeed, we're going to make an independent nation, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, even if the king and parliament say that it's treason, we're going to do it. And if we fail, that our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honors will be forfeit. 56 Americans staked their entire lives, everything, their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor. They staked that. They put it on the line. I know there was more. I mean, there were guys out in the field, but these guys specifically went public. They didn't hide. They didn't try and, make the British think that they were really good guys. There were people in the United States of America that were riding the fence during the war. There were a lot of them that were on the other side of the fence, that were Tories, that kissed up to the British crown and told them, oh, man, our neighbors are all a bunch of whack jobs. Our neighbors are all a bunch of crazy militia people. But we like you, and please be nice to us. Don't burn our farms down. Don't throw us in jail. Don't hurt us. And they smooched up and they kissed the crown's fanny. And then there were a lot of those that were just kind of like hanging out in the middle, hoping, waiting, watching. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to keep my head down, and I'm going to hide, and I'll see what happens. And whichever side wins, then I'll come out of the shadows, and I'll agree with that side. Because my comfort, my money is more important. My money, my comfort, my life, my personal desires are more important to me than individual liberty. And right now in the United States of America, those exact same people exist. And they live around you and I. And they get on Facebook and they tell us publicly that their comfort is more important than liberty. That being comfortable, their fear of a tyrannical government outweighs their desire for independence or liberty. But you don't understand. The sitting government said, I'm not allowed. You know what? The sitting government said that we weren't allowed to have a United States of America. Do you understand that? Do you fathom that? And they said no in the Declaration of Independence that every man has the right to self-determination. That you don't have to hide in the shadows and kiss the fanny of the crown or your masters. And if you are afraid, then that is an example, that is admission that there is a problem. If you are legitimately afraid that the sitting government is going to disapprove of your behavior, and I'm not talking about malum-in-se. I'm not talking about rape and robbery and theft and murder. I'm talking about possession of objects or speaking in a certain fashion. If you're afraid that you're going to be imprisoned and tortured for malum prohibitum because the tyrant said you're not allowed, you're a peasant, we won't allow you? If you genuinely are afraid of that, do you believe that the solution to that problem is hiding, pretending, being more cooperative? Oh, the government's really cracking down. I better be even more subservient. I better cooperate even more. Let me get in line to register my guns with the rest of the slaves. Let me turn in my lawfully owned property because the magistrate has decided that I cannot be allowed. You don't have a clue what liberty is all about. You have no understanding. You are a slave. And if it hurts your feelings, tough crap. I am not here to say that which you desire to hear. Jared, can you imagine going to a gym, a training facility? Can you imagine going to a training facility, going to John Saylor, Olympic quality, coming here to John Dixon, and the coach, the instructor, he says, all right, in order to improve, to be better, this is what I need you to do. And you raise your hand and say, well, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm comfortable with. I need you to come up with a different way.
I would be cast away, or I would be put through more pain in the process of becoming better.
That's like akin. We had our good friend Aubrey, who's a student of the gun. He's a graduate of Fight U. He just came to visit us, graduated from boot camp. Ura Semper Fi. He is now a Marine. He can hold his head high. And Jared said, man, he looked different. That's right, because he's no longer a kid. He's not a kid that used to come in and train with us. He is now a man. He's on his.
He doesn't look soft
He's at the
anymore.
beginning of his manhood journey.
Yep.
He understands what it means to be a man. I can't imagine going to basic training, to boot camp, and then complaining that my drill instructor hurt my feelings, and he didn't say. I wanted him to tell me how good I was and how I was right and how everything that I wanted was the most important thing. No, what you want means nothing if you're willing to surrender your liberty. If you're afraid of the sitting government, is that not a problem? Is that not a clue to you?
I think that the problem that a lot of, especially men, a lot of men run into is that they do have fear, they are afraid, but they're also afraid to admit that they have a fear. And fear exists, but my question to you is, do you have the courage to overcome the fear? Because that's what courage is. It's doing what you need to do despite
it.
Yeah.
There's something more important than your life. There is something more important than your retirement account, in your money, in your stuff. It's this little thing called your legacy. 56 people got together in a room, and their legacy to us is the United States of America. 56 men. And it doesn't matter whether they died rich or whether they died poor. The fact of the matter is, 56 men granted to us the legacy of individual liberty, something that most people on earth die while trying to achieve or never have a concept or an understanding of what it's all about. What's your legacy going to be to your children and your grandchildren? Is your legacy going to be a portfolio? Your legacy is going to be the stuff you die with? So you die with $1 million and cars and stuff like, and what have you, a bunch of stuff. And in order to gain that money, you had to bend down, smooch, and kiss the rear of the crown. You had to kiss the king's fanny. But he allowed you to keep your money because you were a good little slave, a good little tax slave. Good boy. The king patted you on the head. There were a lot of people in 1776, 77, 78 that put a lot of coin in their pocket by smooching up to the crown. So are they the winners? Well, look how smart they were. They made lots of money by smooching up to the king and the crown. Really? That's what you desire for your legacy to be? Well, I sold my soul, and my children and my grandchildren are now enslaved because I was afraid to be uncomfortable. Don't give me the wrap-up finger. This is important.
I know it's important, but
Jared's giving me the wrap-up finger.
we're going to run out of space.
What is your legacy? Is your legacy going to be one of liberty and independence for your children and grandchildren? Or are you more concerned about material things? Are you more afraid? Are you afraid? And if you're afraid, is that not more of a reason to fight? I don't know. You tell me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jared told me I need to wrap it up. I need to wrap it up. We are way long today. You're welcome. Think about it.
Well, I don't know about you, but
I want you to
I'm
think
way
about
long every day.
your lives, your fortunes, and your sacred honor. And what is Francis Scott gave us his legacy. What's your legacy going to be? Will you even have one?
And is it going to be stuff? Is your legacy going to be stuff? Because if it's stuff, that goes away. Eventually, stuff goes away. Make your legacy something that means more than that.